Hello dear ones, Sunday afternoon. I've been in bed most of the day, having a very strange time since that last experience with the rage with that young man. I've been almost a week recovering. It's been quite odd. It's brought up a lot of very difficult things to deal with, and today I was going through a lot of fear. I couldn't work out what it was. But it wasn't even fear. It was something I was very unhappy about, and I thought I wanted to do a video. How am I going to do this, feeling so ill? So anyway, a thought came to me, and I've seen it on the internet somewhere. If you get into really difficult feelings in your head, to go into your heart chakra, which I did, and it helped. I couldn't believe it. I just concentrated on going to my heart chakra, and the whole kind of negative energy cleared. So that's a good tip worth passing on, I feel. But I want to talk about what happened really after the last episode with the toilet seat. It's kind of follow-on video really, but I did have a very powerful experience which I want to pass on, and I think I understand it, but I was a few days feeling, you could imagine, a little bit strange. And I woke up one day with these very strange feelings, and I was quite frightened. I do get a lot of fears actually, and I don't know what they are, but of course being on my own makes it more difficult because you've got no one to chat to about it, and you just got to face it on your own, and it is more difficult. There have been days, especially as an elderly person, that you think, well, what happens if nobody finds you? You could be here for days. I mean, I don't even lock the door because if anything happened, nobody would be able to get in. Apparently the woman next door was found on the floor after a few days. So living on your own and being elderly is a little bit of a challenge, to be honest. Anyway, this particular feeling, I did feel a little bit odd. Oh, I never know quite how to deal with them. There's all so many different techniques that we have, aren't there? You know, choose one. You know, violet fire is a good one. But this was a little bit beyond it, and I just sat in my front room there and talked to God. I've got a new way of doing this. I just sat and quietly, I said, look, you know, do feel afraid. Would you help me through this? And I didn't even say that. I just said I felt very afraid and didn't know what to do. And it was just beautiful. I can only say that God came, and of course that's different for everybody, but for me it was like I just knew it was something beyond my normal kind of, you know, responses. It was a swirling, beautiful, peaceful, loving energy. Well, of course, it set me off crying. It was absolutely beautiful, and I just felt that was a kind of healing. And then I think just after that, I felt I had to travel inwards to my heart chakra. Now, I expect you'll know what I mean, but it's hard to put into words, isn't it? But I just knew that I had to go quietly into this place I don't think I'd been before, not consciously anyway. And I was flying inwards. You know those huge doors, like the Halls of Montezuma, I think it's called, you know, these fantasy films, they're great big doors, two brass locks for handles, lions' heads, you know, and they're solid wood, and they're huge, and you can open them, you've got to pull both doors to get through. I was flying through, and I had 4 sets of these doors. 4 sets! Flying through them one, and then I think I can't remember how I eventually got to the centre, but it wasn't a negative, horrible feeling. It was just I'd reached somewhere that I hadn't probably reached before. And I don't think I saw anything per se. It's all a bit vague now because I was obviously pretty exhausted, but I knew that I'd reached a part of me probably that I hadn't reached before, and I think all of my life I've closed many doors. Mostly because when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I didn't get here until then. As you know, I was a walk-in, but about that time I was abused quite badly. I won't go into detail, obviously, but I was abused, and I think apparently I was told that life was so difficult for me as this kind of extraterrestrial in those days. I mean, 50 years ago, they were never heard of, to be honest. A bit of a nut, what I am now. So I was told that I was so unhappy. I was bullied at school, and oh, you know, things happened that I closed my heart. I closed my heart chakra. So I think I've been taking a lot of this lifetime opening it up again. And this final thing, the only thing it could be dealt with, this fear I was feeling or whatever, was to go into the heart chakra and sort of open it up and face, open the doors, because that's the only healing part of us, I reckon. Like I just found, the healing part that we can really, really trust it is just, pure, So I don't know, but flying through these doors was quite a strange. I can see them now. I mean, they were very large, solid wood, shut, very tight doors, and I kind of pulled them both open, and I had about 4 sets to go through. God. So maybe that's kind of the final frontier, as they say, for me anyway. And I often think, well, maybe that's my daughter. I haven't talked about her much. We've had a lot of battles, and I think, well, if that heart chakra was closed, she would have felt that and sensed that. And it's no good going back over all stuff, I know that, but it could answer some questions as to why I've had such a bad time. That if the heart chakra's been closed, who's going to find me? Who's going to see the real me? Who's going to see that loving centre that I have? I can give out all you like, and obviously I have been in my loving centre, but this was particularly powerful, I think. So, yeah, it's, I have felt quite odd since then. I've been not afraid, but I'm keeping it at home more. I'm not going out so much. I feel very vulnerable at the minute since I get my new boundaries built, if you know what I mean. So that's the main miracle. I'm going to check the time because I haven't got my contact entered in. So that was the main, I called it a miracle really, because it was totally just me and God, two of us. Nobody else has talked me into doing that, and I just felt it was time, and I had the support. And I also read somewhere, and I think this is true, that to go into that kind of deep work, I think it was the heart chakra, could have been somewhat, I think it was, when you go deep within. Shamanistic talk about this, the shamans, you have to be in touch with a very light part of you in order to do it, because the light part of you will take you in to this part that needs clearing or whatever, but without it you could be in trouble, because you need a lot of power, a lot of energy, a lot of strength. So maybe it was just the right time for this heart chakra thing. Maybe you see, this is what I'm coming to now. I was thinking about this a lot today. There are so many layers to everything, aren't there? So many layers. You think you've got the answer, and that's it. Yeah. And a few days later, it changes. There's so many layers to get through, and it came to me today. I mean, we all taught that people reflect what's happening for us and what's living by And I talked about this last time a little bit, but I think it feels to me that this wild man of the woods, no, he wasn't wild, but he was very difficult, that in a way did me a favour, because that was the ultimate, and it was the worst thing I've ever had happen to me, a confrontation in my home with virtual stranger really, and it did upset me a great deal obviously, but I think it did me a favour because it actually was almost like a trigger, like someone had to do something to wake up this particular chakra, to wake up the energy, whatever it was, the fear, the anger, whatever it was, and maybe a previous life, I don't know, but his energy was so horrible, so destructive, I had to go somewhere to deal with it. So really, in retrospect, and this is hard for me to perhaps admit to, but I have to accept he did me a favour, really, because it takes someone, doesn't it, to trigger off what we need to face, to trigger off unresolved issues. It needs somebody, whether it's a family member, whoever it is. That person has to be the right person to match that particular energy in order to wake you up. Anyway, on to a second miracle. Not long after this heart thing, I was so worried about this seat. How am I going to, what can I do? There was nobody I could ask. And I just said, God, do something here. I got to get onto my lavatory in peace, in one piece. And I was sitting here looking out the window, and opposite there's a bungalow, and there was a chap cutting the grass. I've seen him before, but I thought he was a member of the family. So I went out and I bravely said to him, are you a member of the family? He said, oh no, I'm just cutting the grass. I said, do you fit lavatory seats? I'm not sure I asked him quite like that, but I told him the story. I said, I need help. I need someone to do this for me. Oh, I'll come over. Give me 5 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. And he did come over in about 5 or 10 minutes, made a fantastic job of it, and he cut the grass, all for £10. What a miracle! I'm not sure which is the biggest miracle. Of course, as I said last time, miracles happen in small ways as well. And he was such a nice man, very friendly, very kind, gave me his mobile number, and I've had to pay 10 quid in cash, you know, but the seat's perfect, better than it ever has been. Well, it's a new seat, but now I think I'm almost afraid to sit on it in case it. But it was just such a nice thing to, oh, yeah, I'll do it. It was like a dream come true, you know. And I said, would you cut the grass? He said, yeah, of course I will. So I've got two brand new experiences, cut grass and a lavatory seat. But there we are, dear ones. I think it's perhaps time for me to go on that note. I don't know. I hope you've enjoyed it or understood it. What doesn't matter. I mean, when I was feeling really bad yesterday, a thought came to me, watch one of your videos. And I watched two of them, and I felt so much better afterwards, because of course when I'm watching the videos, it's not just me, it's all my light beings that are shining through, so they were giving me a bit of a healing at the same time. Interesting, isn't it? It's so interesting. That's all there is, really, is ourselves. On that note, I'm going to go now. Thank you for all your confidence and kindness and your patience and your, I don't know, I do hope you don't think I'm, well, you don't, perhaps do think I'm a nutcase, but that's alright, isn't it? Go now then, darlings, take care. God bless for now. Love you lots. Bye-bye.